The sky was overcast, casting a somber gloom over Hannah's funeral. A hushed silence enveloped the mourners, each lost in their own memories of the woman they had come to honor. Some clutched handkerchiefs, dabbing at tear-streaked faces, while others stood motionless, their eyes glazed with sorrow. The gentle breeze whispered through the trees, rustling the leaves as if nature itself mourned alongside them. Suddenly, the heavy silence was shattered by an unexpected sound. Duke, Hannah's loyal dog, began barking furiously. He wasn't just any dog, he had been her inseparable companion, always at her side, through thick and thin. Now as he stood in front of the casket, his barking grew louder, more insistent. The crowd exchanged uneasy glances, their confusion mirrored in whispered questions. What's he barking at? Does he sense something? Duke's behavior unsettled everyone. Some paced nervously, while others stood rooted in place, unable to look away. The children clutched their parents, recalling tales of dogs sensing things beyond human understanding. The dog's sharp bark seemed almost like a warning, directed squarely at the casket. A few villagers stepped forward, attempting to calm him, but Duke wouldn't be pacified. His eyes remained fixed on the casket, and his bark carried a note of urgency that made even the skeptics uneasy. Whispers spread through the crowd, and the atmosphere thickened with tension. Even Father Michael, who stood at the front of the church, grew visibly uncomfortable. He tried to quiet the gathering and restore order, but the dog's behavior only intensified the growing unease. Father Michael approached Duke cautiously, his voice soft but strained. "Come now, Duke. Calm yourself. Everything is fine." But the dog pulled back, growling low, his gaze unwavering. The priest's hand trembled slightly as he wiped sweat from his brow, his discomfort becoming increasingly evident. "It's just a dog," he said with a nervous chuckle, but his words failed to convince anyone, not even himself. Observant eyes noticed the way he avoided looking at the casket, as though afraid of what he might see. "Does the priest know something?" an elderly woman whispered to her neighbor. Her friend's suspicious glance mirrored the thoughts of many in the room. Parents pulled their children closer, their unease growing with every passing moment. Among the mourners stood David, a man new to the village. He was a quiet stranger who had arrived just weeks before, but something about Hannah's story had drawn him here. Observant and curious by nature, David couldn't ignore Duke's peculiar behavior. His instincts told him the dog wasn't barking without reason. Stepping forward, David knelt beside Duke, his voice calm and steady. "What is it, boy? What are you trying to tell us?" The dog paused, his barks fading into a low whine as he locked eyes with David. There was something in Duke's gaze, a plea for help, a demand to be understood. David followed the dog's line of sight back to the casket, a chill creeping down his spine. The murmurs grew louder as David stood. "I think Duke is trying to show us something," he said firmly. His words sent a ripple through the crowd, drawing gasps and uneasy glances. Father Michael's voice rose, his tone sharp. "This is inappropriate. You're disrupting the sanctity of this moment." But his insistence only fueled David's suspicion. The priest's flushed face, his trembling hands, and the sweat glistening on his forehead betrayed his growing anxiety. "How exactly did Hannah die?" David asked, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. The question hung in the air, heavy and unavoidable. The priest's eyes widened, his composure slipping. She passed in her sleep," he stammered. "I found her myself. She was at peace." But David pressed on. "Why was she alone? And why were you the one to find her? Isn't that strange?" The murmurs turned to hushed gasps as suspicion spread through the room like wildfire. "Enough!" the priest shouted, slamming his foot against the ground. "You're disrespecting her memory. Leave at once, you and that dog." His voice cracked, the desperation in his tone impossible to ignore. But Duke barked once more, defiant, his tail wagging as though urging David to continue. David hesitated, then turned to the crowd. "If no one else will listen, I will." With that, he grasped Duke's collar and walked out of the church, leaving behind a room filled with whispers and suspicion. Outside, the cold wind carried an eerie stillness. David glanced at Duke, who seemed eager to lead the way. "All right, boy. Let's see what you're trying to tell us." Together, they walked toward Hannah's small stone cottage at the edge of the forest. The door to the cottage was ajar, as if left hastily. Inside, the air was heavy, the furniture coated in dust. Yet some items appeared recently disturbed. David searched the room, opening drawers and rifling through papers until he found a small wooden box. Inside were letters and photographs, their edges yellowed with age. The letters hinted at secret meetings and strange occurrences, things Hannah had never spoken of publicly. As David read, the pieces of a darker mystery began to fall into place. Beside him, Duke wagged his tail, his intelligent eyes gleaming as if to say, "We're on the right track." David's resolve hardened. Whatever secrets lay hidden, he was determined to uncover them. For Hannah, for the truth, and for whatever Duke had sensed from the start. The village seemed tranquil, but beneath its quiet surface lay secrets waiting to be uncovered. David's heart raced as he discovered a handwritten letter by Hannah. In it, she hinted at unsettling truths about Father Michael, the local priest. With Duke, his loyal dog, by his side, David pressed on. His search led him to a small key taped behind a picture frame. He muttered, "What does this open?" Duke barked, as though urging him to continue. Next to the key was an old photograph. In it, Hannah stood beside Father Michael in front of the church, but David's eyes locked onto something in the image, a metal box, just as Hannah had described in her letters. She had written about the priest hiding money. "We're on the right track," David whispered, petting Duke. With renewed determination, David headed to the village center, determined to uncover the truth. The calm streets masked a dark mystery, and David could feel it. His investigation took him to the village library, where he found an old photo album. Among its pages were pictures of Hannah. One photo stood out. Hannah stood beside Father Michael, but her expression was one of unease, almost fear. David then returned to Hannah's house. Behind a curtain, he discovered a hidden cabinet containing her diary. Each page revealed shocking details. Hannah had uncovered corruption within the church, with Father Michael embezzling congregation donations for sinister purposes. Along with her notes, David found photographs of the priest with the same metal box. One photo showed him near a statue in the church, as if he was hiding something beneath it. Driven by the need to uncover the truth, David made his way to the church. Guided by the photographs, he knelt before the statue and found the hidden metal box. Inside were bundles of money marked with the names of donors and a small key. Beneath it all was a map leading to a hidden storage area within the church. David, holding the map and key, ventured into the hidden passage behind the altar. Descending into the dimly lit basement, he found Hannah, chained but alive. "Hannah!" he called out, relief flooding his voice. She weakly replied, "David!" Before David could free her, heavy footsteps echoed behind him. Father Michael appeared, fury blazing in his eyes. "You shouldn't be here!" he shouted, swinging a wooden plank at David. The two struggled, but before the priest could strike again, Duke leapt into action, biting his leg and forcing him to the ground. The commotion spilled onto the streets, where villagers gathered in shock. Seizing the moment, David revealed everything: Hannah's kidnapping, the stolen donations, and the priest's hidden crimes. The villagers, stunned by the revelations, helped restrain the priest. David led them back to the church, where he revealed the stolen money in the hidden storage room. Inside, the villagers saw Hannah, chained and frightened, but alive. Tears and relief filled the room. As the priest was taken away by authorities, the community was left grappling with the betrayal. Yet united by the truth, they began to rebuild their village on the foundations of trust and transparency. David, having risked everything to uncover the truth, chose to stay in the village, helping Hannah heal and becoming an integral part of the community. Duke, the true hero, was celebrated by all. Children played with him, and adults admired his loyalty and courage. Through their bravery, David and Duke gave the village a chance at a fresh start, proving that even the darkest secrets can be brought to light with determination and heart.